yourself as what you're not for a while and have been totally frustrated and disappointed in not being able to get it, yeah? That's a good primer, because then the idea of non-duality explains all that, that which you are can never find itself, obviously. It's looking for itself would be a way of hiding the fact that that's what it is. It's a simple little statement. It's difficult to argue with it. You see, it's got to be hanging out, though, I think. No? All right, it's working that way. Yeah? So non-duality is just a negation of duality. And duality would be high, low, close, far, this, that, yes? Day, night, male, female. Yeah? Sort of like a binary system. And its essence is dualism, which is subject-object, right where we're sitting. So right now, at one moment, you'll be being thought about as an object by the head, and then another moment, you'll believe that you're the thinking of the thoughts. So in one moment, you're taken to be the subject, another moment, you're taken to be an object, and then it goes back and forth, subject, subject. Non-duality is just a negation of that. It says that isn't actually happening. It's appearing to happen, but it's not what we are. Yeah, we're not subject-object. We're not this or that. We're not yes or no. We're not close and far. Yeah, so that negation. So if you're coming into, let's say, spirituality, God help you, really, but you know, if you come into spirituality. I think the best thing it can do for you is frustrate you, you know, to experience the utter failness of looking for yourself as what you're not, yeah? Through what you're not, you're never going to find yourself. So it's really a negation of the assumption that we're someone. And in that negation, it's sort of like if the sheep, well, let's say if the lion has become identified as a sheep, yeah? And it's not happy living a sheep life. It's a little upsetting, you know. It's doesn't want to hear another story about who's going to be the next sweater, and it's just, you know, getting herded and going where everyone fucking tells it to go. It's a little upset being a sheep, and it hears the idea of being a lion, yeah. And it reads about lion, and it goes, man, I'd like to be like a lion. I like to kick some ass. I don't want to have to take any more shit. I'd like to be a lion. So it sounds good. So the sheep wants to become like a lion. That's fine. But let's say the sheep is actually a lion, yeah? A lion that's identified as a sheep. So the lion identified as a sheep hears about itself and says as a sheep it would like to become like that. You see, this is the dilemma of spiritual searching. The dilemma of spiritual searching is in any other topic you can find what you're looking for, but in this topic you can't find what you're looking for because you are what's looking. Yeah? This is the little dilemma. And non-duality is just basically stating that conundrum with the hopes, hopefully you've had enough experience that there's been a disillusionment has set in, hopefully. Because what happens is, when things fail you, first you're blamed, yeah, usually. You haven't done enough, usually. If I would have just stayed with that master one more day, or if I would have meditated a little longer, if I would have held that posture a little longer, then something would happen. It's basically still all about you. But after you get through that phase, though rather long, maybe you'll get a point where you'll have the ears to hear the message. And if you're not, it's fine, you know. But if you have the ears to hear the message, this is sort of like walking into a spiritual shoe store. We're going to throw out some shoes. If you put them on and they fit, wear them. Yeah. So one of the basic shoes is the idea of the sheep and lion. It's the first video we ever did years and years ago. And it's an old story. It's about a lion, a mother lion and a cub. And the mother lion gets killed, so the young lion is orphaned, it's walking around, doesn't know what's going on, comes upon a herd of sheep, and it starts moving towards those sheep. The sheep knows it's a lion, and they get a little worried, but then they realize the lion doesn't even know it's a lion, and it gets ingratiated into the sheep flock or herd, and it tries to be the best sheep it can be as a lion, yeah? So it's listening to everyone talk about who's going to be the next sweater, gets its hair curled, you know, tries to baa, chews cud. It's not that happy, but it doesn't know anything else. It's a sheep, yeah, to all intents and purposes. Meets a sheep, a female sheep. They have kids. The kids look a little strange, but they rationalize that as some kind of gene mutation. And here it goes. So now the sheep, the lion, taking itself to be the sheep, is trying to be the best sheep it can be, yeah? But it's feeling a little discontent, a little irritable, unsatisfied. So it hears the idea of, hears about a lion, yeah? And there's a couple other sheep that are in the same situation. They hear about a lion, and so they get pictures of lions, and they have a room like this, and they put a nice frame on them. And they start going every weekend on Saturday to look at the lion and read about what a lion is like, and they're trying to practice roaring, and they're, you know, and oh, Bill, you're doing pretty good. You almost sound like a lion, bah, bah, you know, on and on. And this dilemma is, it's very noble to some other sheep. They go, oh, I really respect Bill. He's trying to become like a lion, you know, it's pretty good. It's good for sheep to become like a lion. But the whole point is, you are a lion, you see. So is the message, is the appropriate message to be talked about describing the lion when only the sheep is going to be the one that hears it, or to describe the sheep so that the lion hears it, yeah? Which would be the more efficient methodology? Would you talk, just talk ad nauseum to the sheep about what it would be like to be a lion, or if you recognize the dilemma is the identification of the lion as a sheep, to talk to the lion about a sheep, yeah? That to me is how it works. I've gone to too many talks where they talk about what it's like to be a lion, but what hears it is the sheep, yeah? It doesn't go anywhere. As soon as the message, you're a lion, gets heard by a sheep, it gets turned into, I can become like a lion. That's not the message. So the talks about what you would call a non-duality talk is a talk on duality. You're attempting to talk to the lion about the sheep, not to the sheep about a lion. Yeah? So we throw the message over the sheep's head with the hopes the lion catches it. Because I have realized that I can talk to I'm blue in the face about a lion to a sheep. It doesn't go anywhere. It just reinforces the sheepness, yeah? But if I talk to a lion about the sheep, it goes somewhere. Because the lion may be, hey, maybe I'm not a sheep. As soon as it falls upon this idea, it stops trying to become like a lion. It realizes it's not a sheep, and what does it discover? It's a lion. How long does it take to discover it? Not long at all, because it's a lion. That's the message. You can say it in thousands of ways, but I have heard enough descriptions of what I am. The all-present oneness, or fucking empty clarity, or the love of all loves, but it's the sheep hearing it. The whole message gets neutered by what's hearing it, yeah? So the dilemma is, I'm here, and so someone says, well, Paul, why don't you just sit in silence? Well, as a warning, you gotta fucking scream. You gotta go watch out. You can't just go, because there's I feel satsang is warnings, basically, tell you the truth. I think they're just warnings. If you hit a certain point, all you need to do is hear the warnings, yeah? What may be happening is you're looking for what you are from what you're not. Yeah? Instead of seeing what you're not from what you are. It looks exactly the same. Yeah? But the emphasis can be different. The emphasis can be on what you're not, looking for what it is, or the emphasis can be on what you are, seeing what you're not, looking for what it is. Yeah? That's it. And if that switcheroo occurs, you finally get the sense that the horse is before the car. There's a sense of being on it's like a knowledge before knowledge. You just know. It's like an unspoken yes. It finally is clear. As Huang Po says, you can't use the Buddha to seek the Buddha. You can't use mind, big mind, to seek mind. You can't use light to seek light. Now, would he say that to anyone who wasn't mind, light, or Buddha? Would he say that to Steve? Hey, Steve, you can't use Buddhism to try to get some Buddha attributes. No, that would ruin the whole life story of Steve. Steve is a devoted Buddhist, but he didn't see Steve as Steve. Hawaiian Post Steve saw Steve, aka Buddha. And he was talking to the Buddha, not Steve. And he was talking to the Buddha, though Steve thought it was the one that was hearing it, and it was saying, psst, Buddha, you can't use yourself to find yourself. How long would that be? How long would it take the Buddha to get that? No time at all. That's the solution. The solution doesn't have any stench of time in it. It's timeless. It's all, see, when the correction seems to occur in time, it tells you it's always been this way. You've never not been the Buddha. There was never that you became Steve, and at that point, becoming completely Steve, it made sense to use a vehicle of Buddhism to try to acquire some Buddhist traits, yes? But it doesn't make any sense at all if you're the Buddha. For the Buddha to use Buddhism to acquire Buddha traits is quite misleading. Now that's the invitation. This is not a debate or a fucking, it's just an invitation. It happened to me, and I wish it hadn't in some respects. It ruined my career. I could have led tons of retreats and practiced intensives and shit like that. But in fact, there's a simple invitation. You know, it's like serving a spiritual subpoena. You've been served, see if the shoe fits. Does it fit? When I heard it, it provoked an avalanche. When I heard self cannot get out of self, it explained most of my adult life. I've been trying to get out of me as me. That's why I can't escape. So I went to satsangs. I heard people trying to explain the unexplainable, like what consciousness is, what's emptiness, what's love. But it doesn't fucking matter if the sheep's hearing it. And the sheep was hearing it. The sense of self is produced in less than like 5 seconds. No process is going to beat that process. None. No process in time is going to outdraw that process. So when you're doing something like meditation, the mental state is casting it as a meditator. Yeah? It's binding you to a noun. With all the verbing you're doing, it still binds you to a noun. You think you're the one doing it. We have a statement in recovery, very important one, goes unnoticed a lot, which is quit playing God. Yeah? So if you look at your head, what's happening up, it's not up in your head, obviously. Yeah, the thoughts aren't contained in this. The thoughts are like comets in a big sky. Yeah, you see the tail of them, but that's basically it. You don't know where they came from or where they're going, but you see a little tail, and it's pretty wide open. So quit playing God. The head, you wake up in the morning, it tells you how the day's going to be, doesn't it sometimes? It has such an assurance, it knows what 4 p.m. is going to be like. It tells you, what the fuck, don't get up. Don't go to work, you're going to get fired today. No one's even thought about you at work. All this stuff, so it's playing God, all right? So then here's this little idea. Hey, got to quit playing God. Makes sense. But if that which is playing God hears, hey, you got to quit playing God, if it tries to quit playing God, that's playing God. Yeah? How can that which is playing God quit playing God? How? Tell me. If it tries to quit playing God, that's playing God. Ad infinitum. How are you going to get out of that? How? If that's in place, if that which is playing God tries to stop playing God, that's playing God. Yeah? If the sheep tries to become a non-sheep, that's sheep. Yeah? If the lion sees it's not the sheep, yeah, it's the lion. And what happens? It's always been the lion. It never was the sheep. It never will be the sheep. Yeah? And then that possibility stabilizes, and then you start traveling lighter here as the seeming sheep. And this is all after the result of relief. Everything that's downloaded through me has been really reverse engineering. It just has told me how things were happening, and I would construe it or define it in a way of calling it dreaming. Yeah? That we're all dreaming. As the Course in Miracles says, we're the dreaming of the dream. And I don't like the word dream. It sounds like a thing. So I say, we're the dreaming of the dreaming. And so in the dreaming, there's nowhere that you're going to observe the dreaming. You're in the act of dreaming now. There's not a break. There's not like a little rest area you pull over in as this. You're dreaming. This is dreaming. Completely. All the time. There's no witnessing of the dreaming. There's dreaming. Yeah? There's a witness in the dreaming, but it's dreaming. Yes? Yes. So everything is dreaming. So we're dreaming this dream. This is like a diagram of today. We're dreaming this dreaming. We forget that we're dreaming. Now, how could that possibly happen? How could dreaming forget that it's dreaming? That's an interesting thing. So what it does is it can seem to forget that it's dreaming, which means it appears to the dreaming it's forgotten that it's dreaming. Yes? That's what seemingly means. Seemingly means it appears to be true or false to you. Yeah? So the dreaming forgets that it's dreaming. How does it facilitate that in time? It takes itself to be the dreamt. Yeah? So suddenly the dreaming forgets its dreaming by being identified as the dreamt, and now everything that I'm giving all the meaning to has the ability to affect me as the dreamt. So now thoughts that I've given meaning to by calling them mine have the ability to ruin my day. It's amazing. It's amazing. Yeah? If you followed it, you'd see it's all connected to your own arm. Yeah? But we don't see it that way. From the dreamt, this place is real. Yeah? We give it the meaning of reality, and then it impresses itself on us as real. Real suffering, real pain, real time, real this, real that. Yes? If you see it as an activity, if you see the dreaming, the one quality that's not been touched here is the awareness. It can't be touched. You have the ability to see that which comes after you. Yeah? You can see the dreaming. You can see it. And in the seeing of the dreaming, it informs you of quite a lot. And what it tells you is, with all the identification as the dreamt, you have never become the dreamt. You're appearing to be the dreamt in the dreaming. Yes? You are the dreaming. What happens? I don't know, find out, you know. I just entertain these ideas, and what I can say over 20-something years, this action figure, Paul, the dreamt, has traveled lighter in a stabilized manner, which means not everything turned great, but I was allowed to travel lighter through whatever life had in store for me. People with cancer, losing jobs, having AIDS, or whatever it may be. All that stuff would occur, but I traveled lighter over it. And after years of that, I ended up to the idea of what more else do you want? That's all that this is looking for. Because the possibility here in duality is to travel heavy or light. Yeah? I'd much rather lean to the lighter side. Yeah? But the thing is, trying to lean to the lighter side is some of the heaviness. Yeah? That's the dilemma. The dilemma is the power that we are the observation that distorts everything that's observed. We give everything all the meaning it has. Everything, all the meaning it has. Everything, all the meaning it has. That's our role here as this action figure. Through this, everything is being given meaning. Yes? We are the dreaming of the dream. We're not in a dream. We've not been dreamt by something else. We are the act of dreaming in the dreaming. So what happened with me, I don't look for what can't be found. That's that simple. And if you took a test, like I once had this problem with my digestion, bothered me for quite a while. So I ran to a point where I bought this beneficial flora from Canada. I live in America. Came in these little milk carton things. They were like trillions of beneficial flora, not billions, trillions. And it were $48 for like 6 of them. Every week I buy them at Whole Foods. And for a year, I drank these. And I kept trying to talk myself into it. Am I feeling better? Because I'm spending tons of money. You know, I mean, thousands of dollars. I better get something. Oh, I think so. I'm feeling, but no, you know. So then I found out about this lab that you could send your shit to, Smoky Mountain Lab in Tennessee. They'd send you a little kit, and you'd have a thing, and you ask for what to be checked. Everyone was afraid of parasites, even though you're parasitical nature, the mental state already. That's why we're so afraid of parasites, because we are taking over right now. So check out parasite for sure. And I wrote all these other things. So I sent it away, 3 days worth, and then it came back in about a week, and I was really excited. I read it, no parasite. Whew, that's fucking great. Then I looked and I said, all right, signs of beneficial flora. Now I have been pumping like trillions of refuge migrant intestinal flora. I should have had a huge civilization thriving there. Trillions of them. I look at it, signs of beneficial flora, 0.000%. Not one sign. There's not a sign of them. I put trillions of them in there. Where the hell did they go? Then the next thing is, oh, Mr. Hedderman, you have 2 bacteria that love beneficial flora. So you've been basically a gourmet caterer to the fucking bacteria in your stomach. I spent thousands of dollars feeding these things. They were getting huge. So my intentions were pure, but totally got hijacked. So it was incredible, really. I'm a 48 times 52. That's a lot of money. So I have absolutely no sign. So today, if you took some of my sample, see if I have any spirituality in me, it would come back 0.000. So either it's been an incredible success, or I totally lost interest in all of it. And it looks more like I've lost complete interest in it, which to me is the highest form here, really.
How's the digestion?
The digestion, right now I don't feel it, thank God. It's actually gotten better, yeah. When you take your attention out of it, it gets a lot. See, my own experience, my own vested interest was the biggest distortion, yeah? And I made spirituality quite important, and I'll tell you something. I remember I had a guru when I was young, and he was called the Lord of the Universe, right? And when I finally met him, I realized he didn't like the Lord of the Universe. And I thought, what? Who would not like the Lord of the Universe? And my head had a fucking field day on me for years. I was trying to figure out, I can't leave him. He's the Lord of the Universe, but I don't want to be with him. So I was thinking of trying to kill him, really. And he used to have this motorcade. And I just jokingly, but a little seriousness, hit him with like a time delay dart, so he'd die about 50 yards away, and fucking it would be over. And once he'd be dead, I could freaking leave, yeah? This is what my head did with it, yeah? You thinking you're trying to get out of something, your wanting to get out of it makes it real. Your moving away makes it real. We don't see our own power here.
So if we you're saying if we let it go, like digestion, forget that's the problem.
But you can't let it go. That's the point.
I know it's hard, but if you did, you could let
Well, if it happens, yes, that's where the relief is, but you can't force it. That's the thing. What you do is you lose interest in getting out, and that's the out, yeah? You lose interest in that which wants to get out. You lose interest in that thinks it's in, yeah? That's what happens. See, if you try to lose interest in being interested, that's interest.
Yeah.
See, so you can't get yourself out of the equation. That's the dilemma. That's what people are trying to do. And these warnings have been shown to us in a lot of writings that that's impossible. Like Ramana says it in tons of the writings that people did of his teachings. He says the same thing in various ways. And one of them is, there's a presupposing of this non-existent thing, which is this body, yeah? So this body is animated right now, yeah? If that animation would leave, the body wouldn't be bodying, yeah? And if you probably saw someone you know, when they were dead, you would have maybe a hit. That wasn't Fred, you know? Because you were mistaking the animation for the body. And if you saw the body without the animation, you would be pretty clear that wasn't Uncle Fred. Yes, yeah. The reason why you thought it was the body, because you're assuming you're the body. So there's a mistake of identity where we're mistaking the animation as the body. Yeah? So the animation becomes identified as the body and basically starts looking at life from the sheep. And then maybe it's driven to the point it wants to become like a lion, all the while actually being a lion the whole time. So the whole point of the message or the direction isn't to describe the lion to the lion, it's to describe the sheep to the lion. So that the lion can see maybe it's not the sheep. It doesn't have to see that it wants to become like a lion. That defeats its fucking recognition. You see what you're not, that's provoking that desire to become. Yeah? And by seeing you're not that, you find you give up or lose interest in the desire to become because you are being that which you would like to become. You're being it right now. That's the dilemma with the mental state. The mental state isn't interested in being something, it's interested in becoming something. It would love to become the being, but it doesn't want to be, yeah? Because it has nothing to do with that, yeah? It can't mine much out of being. It can mine a whole lot of becoming. Yeah? And you notice that becoming takes a long fucking time, doesn't it? And then the dilemma is, maybe for a minute or two you truly become, but then the next minute you unbecome. And the unbecoming is more minutes than the becoming, usually. So there's a loss of interest in that, and what happens is the lion finds out it's a lion, not by looking for itself, but by seeing what it's not. It's as simple as that. Yeah? And then it's seamless from there on. It never varies. It never veers off of that logic. Yeah? It's the seeing of what you are not is the intimation of what you are. It's the seeing of what you're not is the intimation of what you are. So non-duality is exactly that. It's a negation, and it always is based on negation. It's not two, not two, one. It's not that. It's just not two, not two, not two, not two. There's no one. Yeah? Yeah. So as someone, they weren't here earlier, but you watch it in your own event during the day. Sometimes you're thought about, yes, as an object. The head thinks about you as an object. It's going over, you know, I'm not looking good or whatever. And then sometimes you feel like the thinking. So at one point you're the subject, you're the thinking, and another point you're what's thought about. That's dualism. That's the essence of duality. Dualism expressed is duality. Yeah? Non-duality is negating that. It says it's never freaking happened. It's dreaming. Yeah? It's happening, but it never culminates into being, it never culminates into something that happened. It's just happening. It's dreaming. Dreaming, dreaming, like verbing, verbing, verbing. There's no noun to be found. Now the mental state, its first movement, this little crazy idea is that it claims things that are happening to imply that there's a one. Yeah? So you can see it very simply. Just look at cup. Here's a cup, all right? Cup, meaning. Now, I don't want to do this, point this way, it may spill. But now, my cup. See? Now it has a different intention. So the cup is used to point to the owner of the cup, yeah? Or the haver of the cup, yes? So let's say thousands of cups go by. Cup, 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 fine. Now thousands of cup, my 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 cup. Yes? This is what happens. So thoughts occur, thoughts are held as your thoughts. Yeah? So now the my puts an intention, implies, insinuates, assumes that there's a haver of the thought. Yeah? Or the doer of the thought. Feelings, same thing. Tons of feelings, sensations all day. They're all presented as being claimed as my feelings. There's one person who had all the feelings. There's one person who had all these thoughts. There's one person that had all these actions. The actions are the most convincing because they're the crudest, yes? So there you go, all day. So there's thoughts, so there's thinking, there's feeling, there's acting. The thinking is claimed, the feeling is claimed, the acting is claimed, and now suddenly there's the actor and the acted, yes? There's the feeler and the felt, there's the seer and the seen, there's the doer and the done. So this interpretation of life goes into two-ness, and you lose the essence of life. So now life isn't seen as happening, it's interpreted as happening to me. It's a fucking robbery. And it wasn't like the heist happened in 1980, it's happening now. The possibility is happening right now. The possibility is what's being presented as the hearer of this message is a historical freaking idea rooted or framed as a body. So we could come here for the weekend. Thank God we're not. There's nothing to worry about. We could come here and think, and it would be a 3-day seminar. We're going to chant, "We're not a body." So for 3 days, we're going to chant, "I'm not a body, we're not a body, we're not a body, we're not a body." But what would be chanting, "We're not a body"? A body. Yeah? What wants to get out of a body experience? A body. So all the chanting, "I'm not a body," would be reinforcing the body, yes? If all the chanting, "I'm not a body," is being claimed to be the body doing it, so the negation of the body would be reinforcing the body. Yes? This is what happens all day. Even consciousness, the seeing, hearing, feeling, tasting, and touching is being claimed. You see it, watch it. They're seeing, hearing, feeling, tasting, touching, but the sense of it is I'm the seer of it. Yeah? I'm the hearer of it. I'm the feeler of it. I'm the taster of it. I'm the smeller of it. Yeah? But all there is touching, smelling, feeling, tasting, thinking. That's what's happening. But there's a claiming of it, and suddenly there's an imaginary doer that's being implied. So Ramana says it simply, there's a presupposing of a non-existent thing. Yeah? The word pre is the most important part of the statement. There's a presupposing of this non-existent thing that wants to get salvation for the non-existent thing. If this is in place, your spiritual practices themselves will be used to reinforce the non-existent thing. How can they destroy the non-existent thing? First of all, there's no destroying a non-existent thing. There's just a recognition there's no thing. Yeah? There's no vanquishing it or killing it. You don't have to go back to see if it's come back to life. It's non-existing. Yeah? So would you ever, if you saw the problem as imaginary, would you attempt to escape from it? Would you attempt to escape from an imaginary place? Of course not. But we're taking imaginary places to be real, and therefore we want to escape, which reinforces the realness of the imaginary place. How can that lead us to salvation when it binds us to the one that's bound? He's telling you, he's putting out spiritual shoes. Does this explain some of our behavior? Have our spiritual practices themselves, are they being used by the mental state to reinforce the idea that you're a someone? If that's the case, how can they destroy that idea of a non-existent thing? I'm presenting it the way it was presented to me. This just stopped me in my traps. My traps too. And it just downloaded a huge avalanche that's never stopped. It explained everything I've been doing, not in the particulars, but the theme of it all. I have been trying to be free as self for a long time when the freedom was from self. I had it happen in recovery, or one day it was sufficient enough event to remember. I was reading this sentence in recovery, which it says, being convinced, which means a present tense condition, yeah? Not I was convinced or I'm going to be convinced, but being convinced right now that self This feeling of being a long-lasting, independent, separate entity, the doer, the thinker, the feeler, the haver. That sense of self is what has defeated us, meaning us and self, yeah? So self is an idea that all of seemingly us are entertaining, yeah? So being convinced that self, manifested in various ways, has defeated us, we will now look at its common manifestations, meaning selves, and then we do an inventory process in recovery, which is called the fourth step. And the first one you look at is resentments. So if you follow the statement, resentments are a manifestation in self in one's life, but most people I've worked with will keep calling them my resentments, when they're not their resentments. They're manifestations of self. The us has been proclaimed, and the us is different than self, but the us is constantly being identified as self because it's claiming self's manifestations as it moves through them. They say they're my resentments, my fears, my actions, my seeings, my doings, my this, my that. That's the bondage of self. It's an activity. It's an activity available right now. But if you see it, well, if you don't see it, you're going to be looking from it. If you see it, the ball game changes. The same presentation is presented, the exact same presentation. When it's assumed, it's pre-assumed. This is the beauty of the presupposing. When there's see, this is what happened. I use this term selfing. I don't know if you've listened to Zen Bitchlap, but selfing is a description of what I believe this idea is using the mental states for. Yeah? So the memories picture us as a body. The thought system thinks of us as a body. Yeah? The perception sees things. It doesn't see no thing. So so the perceptions and the memory and the thoughts, which are things we rely on, are based on body. We're a body. That's how they take us to be. So when you're listening to their assessment or supposing, you're supposed to be a body, a historical figure. Yeah? You're assumed to be one. You're supposed to be, you're worried as one. You're remembered as one. Yeah? So there it is. So the presupposing, so here it goes. So the selfing is happening. And if there's a buying of the selfing, you have a feeling of being a self. Yeah? As soon as the feeling of being a self is produced, it's presupposed, and now you believe you're doing the selfing. You believe you're doing it all. So the verb is used to imply the noun. The noun suddenly is the one that's doing the verbing. I had it in LA. A guy who's listened to me a lot came and said, all right, let's call the selfing Paul. All right? Let's call it Pauling. So he says, all right, Paul, on a good day, are you Pauling like 10% of the time, 30%? 70% of the time, and he went on and on. So the Paul, is Paul doing a lot of Pauling, and if he's only doing 5%, that's a good day. I said, no, you got it all wrong in time. There's the Pauling that produces the sense of Paul. And as soon as it's produced, it presupposes itself to be before the Pauling, and suddenly it's Paul that's doing the Pauling. You see? They're seeing, hearing, feeling, tasting, touching with no volition, yet your head thinks it's the seer, the hearer, the feeler, the taster, the toucher, to the point when it has a feeling, it says, I didn't want to feel that. But it was too late. You already felt it. That's the presupposing of the non-existent thing, wanting to get salvation for the non-existent thing. He just explained it. That's it. There's an assumption that you're a someone, and then it's pre-assumed to be before everything else. So that which is being used to produce it is now claimed to be a thing you're doing. It's mind-boggling. If you saw it, you'd see the whole magic trick is in time. The rabbit was never pulled out of the hat. There's the magician, there's the hat, there's the rabbit. You see the rabbit and then you assume it was pulled out of the hat. It never was pulled out of the hat. It was assumed to be in the hat. Time is not it. Time is the dreaming. Time is the magic of the dreaming. And the mental state uses time differently than we do. We believe time is linear, that this happened, this is happening, and it's going to happen. But the mental state doesn't play that game. That which comes after, so there's consciousness, then there's the idea of you. That which comes after is presupposed to be before. So now you feel you're conscious. And then if you feel like you're conscious, in this world of spirituality, you'll probably feel you're less conscious or unconscious, or you should be more conscious. So now consciousness starts looking to become more conscious, which gives it the possibility of being less conscious. You see? If you believe you can become more conscious, you believe you can be less conscious. That's not it. If you believe you can achieve something, you also believe you're going to lose it. That's not it. It's not it. This is an inherent condition that doesn't give a damn about what's happening. It doesn't. It just sees it all. Yeah? If you look at the thoughts, are the thoughts playing out here? Can you see the thoughts in here? Or is the thoughts playing to one audience this way? Yes? There's that silent audience of us, and the thoughts are constantly produced. This is what we call in recovery false evidence appearing real. The mental state is truly producing a lot of false evidence appearing real. Yeah? So the false evidence gets introduced to us as the audience, as what we are, and the false evidence appears to be real to us. And that's fear. So now you believe you're going to be destitute next week, even though you're not now. And now you start feeling what you would think the effects of being destitute next week would be now. So you're fucking scared shitless, and you're in a nice house with a fireplace and everything else, with a bologna sandwich. There's nothing to... You're not responding to what's happening, you're reacting to what's not happening. That's selfing. Yeah. How can you use agitation to find stillness? That's going to be agitation. You can't do it. It's a conundrum. You can't take yourself out of the equation. If you want to look at Buddhism, the Four Noble Truths, you ever hear of that? Four Noble Truths? So suffering. Sometimes people call it malaise or dukkha is the word. It doesn't really mean suffering. It means like a vague dissatisfaction, let's say. So suffering is the dilemma. And what's causing it? Desire. So if you look at desire in the mental state, I would say it's a desire to become and unbecome, yes? So the mental state has a desire to become a self, which it can never do, so that desire is always thwarted, and then it presupposes it being something already and wants to unbecome that, like a loser or unlovable or never gonna make it or whatever, yes? So it assumes it's something that it doesn't want to be, and then it's trying to be something it can never be. So it's in a desire to become and unbecome. So its basis is agitation, yeah? There's a famous Zen saying in Faith Mind, which is you can't use activity, agitation, to produce stillness. That would be activity. There's the dilemma. What's the best way to get out of those Chinese thumb torches? Stop moving. Let it hit you. That system that you're using to find what you are will never succeed. It will succeed in finding a cup of coffee or a good raw dessert or a pair of pants or maybe a date, who knows, but it's not going to find what you are. No freaking way. You can't experience what you are, you can't know what you are, you can't study what you are. You can't have an understanding of what you are. You can understand what you're not, you can know what you're not, you can experience what you're not, you can study what you're not. Yeah? But you can't apply that to what you are because you're it. Yeah? That's the one big speed bump. Why would they say this in these writings? They weren't sadists, you know? You think Huang Po, the great Zen master, just wanted to fucking irritate the hell out of you by saying, you can't use the Buddha to seek the Buddha? He didn't see you as Bill or Steve or Mary. He saw you as the Buddha, and he was warning the Buddha, hey Buddha, you can't use yourself to find yourself. I don't think he gave like a 500-year talk. It was a simple invitation. And then he tripled on it. He said, you can't use mind, big N mind. They used it a lot as meaning everything. You can't use mind to seek mind. And then he gave you the third clincher. You can't use light to seek light. So I would imagine he was seeing us as light, as mind, and as the Buddha. Or why would he say it to us? Yeah? Where would that be an appropriate message unless we were the Buddha, unless we were mind, unless we were light? Why would it ever be said unless it was said to the Buddha, to mind and to light? Of course, nothing else could use the Buddha to seek the Buddha except Buddha, yeah? That would, you couldn't, you know. So either we're all the Buddha, yeah, or we're all the Buddha. You can't get around the statement. I mean, it's pointing at us. And it's an activity. It's not like you can't get out of the Buddha as the Buddha in 1984. No, now. Yeah. If that's the if that fits, wear it. It's going to reveal quite a lot. And maybe it will chill you out. Yeah. I don't know. To me, this became the last answer, which is a damn good answer in time. Every other answer I ever had led to a seeking of another answer. This put an end to all fucking seeking any other answers. To me, that's a damn good answer. It negated the need of any other answer in this topic. And it hasn't changed, and I'm open for it to change. And the thing we try to talk about, downloaded, and it just told me, don't move from this point, because if people don't hear this, they're going to be looking for the Buddha with the Buddha. You know, they're going to be looking to become a lion as a sheep, all the while being a lion. So yeah, in warnings, you got to speak. You can't do it silently. You got to come here and go, watch out. You know, more like, you know, the side of a cigarette pack, a little. This is going to be deadly for your spiritual health. Hasn't it proven to be true? How many years of seeking are in this room? Probably quite a lot. And you ended up here? That should tell you it's failed. Completely. Literally. I don't know what else can be as disarming as this.
We're all on a journey, aren't we, that we should follow, and eventually we may get to, you know, be more at peace with ourselves and not take, you know, everything on and be stressed by of ourselves.
Yeah, but I don't agree on that premise. I don't think you're on a journey. And then in a sense, even the way you said it, which is fine, you know, there was time in there. You're hoping that you're going to grow into a state of ease and comfort. Why not now? Yeah, I'm tired of fucking growing. Being doesn't take any time, and you're not going to grow into being. You know, if you, let's say you got to all the roots of your family of origin, then your head will make up a family of origin from Mars. It produces problems. It produces historical problems right now. The presupposing is amazing. It is a magic trick. Let's say here's consciousness, or whatever we are, right? And let's say the mental state's throwing chum out on the sea of consciousness, like you're a loser, you'll never be loved, or whatever. And then so the consciousness gets interested in it, goes there and bites the bait, yeah? As soon as it bites the bait, it feels like a fish. But it also feels like it's been a fish. And it's going to be a fish. That's the presupposing, yes? It takes the bite, it suddenly feels like Paul, then it feels like it's been Paul, and it feels like it's going to be Paul. It's happening every moment. It's not, there's no truth in fucking time. It's a magic trick. That which comes after implies to be before. That's a magic trick. People, swear by Ramana Maharshi. Listen to what he said. Presupposing is a very incredible statement, because the pre is all about time. Pre is before, so the supposing implies it was before the supposing. Now you feel like you were the one supposing. I've ran into it all day in conversations. Something is reflected on. That thing that's supposed to be, was presupposed to be the one that was clear once, is not clear now. It's all the magic trick. It's all like this. If you see it, it's going to continue. Yeah? But you won't, unless you get in for free, you're not going to buy a ticket for it. I'll tell you that much. See, that thing that used to be a news station up here, it's just like Comedy Central now. It's just fucking humorous. I mean, the way it sees things is so myopically small. It can't help itself. It thinks it's a vulnerable thing that's the center of the universe. What can I say? So, that's that, I'm not a believer that more time gets the message through. I think it's an invitation. It can be repeated tons of times, but more is not better in this case. More is just more, really. Because the solution is not of time. So you can't use time to arrive there. It's just not going to happen. Yeah? That which demonstrates look at consciousness just in your day, looking right now. Are you sweating by looking? I mean, it's getting late. You've been looking all day, seeing. Aren't you fucking beads of sweat I've seen so much. First I saw Toronto, which was overwhelming. Now Peterborough. I mean, I'm like, seeing, there's no thought or effort in seeing, is there? Hearing, I hear a lot of shit I don't want to hear. Just hearing's non-volitional. Smelling, oh shit, fucking touching, all this. It's obvious we have nothing to do with it. And does it demonstrate any thought or effort? Being itself. Consciousness is being conscious. It's no thought or effort, yes? None. How could you believe thought and effort would bring you to what demonstrates no thought or effort in being itself? I can't see how that could make any fucking sense. You're going to whip yourself so that you get to a point of not whipping yourself? Why not just get right to the point of not whipping yourself? Do you have to really prove it to yourself? Do you have to prove that you've done enough to be something? To me, that's all slavery. Yeah. This is like you lose interest in the need to be liberated. You lose interest in all because that which needs and wants to be liberated is not you. What is you has no need or want to be liberated. It has no want to be freed. It's never been bound. It's like the sky that doesn't say no to any cloud that appears in it. And there's never traffic. Tons of clouds come through it. They all move in and out. Tons of shit happens in the sky. Not one thing leaves a lasting effect on it. Not one. You can have a deluge and flood the whole area. The sky's not wet. Tons of planes fly through it. Nothing runs into chunks of sky up there. You can have fucking July 4th explosions every day. It doesn't rip the sky open. The sky is like mind. It allows everything to appear in it, yet it's not affected by anything. Why not have a little of sky in this fucking density of life? Yeah, like Jesus says, you're in this world, but you're not of it. It's a perfect negation. Because we all know what it's like to be in this world, yes? There's things, there's time for sure, there's difficulties, there's conditions that I have to seem to manage. I can get a virus I never even see that dominates me for 10 days. It's fucking a very, very anxious, producing place. Yeah, I'm in this world. there's time, there's things, there's separation. And then he goes, and you're not of this world. So what are you not of? You're not of time, you're not of separation, you're not of things. I mean, how can you get lost in that? Yeah? He describes exactly what we feel like being in the world. You're not in this, you're in this world. Yeah, I'm in this world. Hey, you're not of this world. Ooh, what? Yeah. So we're in this world, but we're not of the world. So what's the world? Time, separation, things, actions. We're not of time, we're not of separation, we're not of things, and we're not of actions. Are we in these? Yes. But are we of these? No. That's negation. That's teaching. Yeah? He doesn't come and tell you what the other's like. He tells you what the in. He says, all right, you're in this world. Yeah, fucking good, all right. And you're not of it. That's negation. That's right direction. That's correct direction. Instead of going to what you're of, and the only thing that's hearing it is what thinks it's in, you say, no, let's talk about the in and realize you're not of. That's pure negation. Jesus Christ. Because we're so unpopular, really, we can stay true to this. We don't have to budge because we have no fucking retreats, no intensives. We're not subscribing to anything. It's a simple invitation, and you're it. Yes, you are what you're looking for. What's looking is what you're looking for. The seeker is the sought. What are all those cryptic statements implying? You're it. Yeah? But not as that which is looking to be it, yeah? But that which is truly it. And it arrives there by seeing what it's not. It never arrives there for looking for what it is, because it is what's looking. So it sees what it's not. You hear about what you're not, and you go, Jesus Christ, I'm not that. And then that's that. You have arrived at where you've never left, through negation. Mm-hmm.
What is the answer, Paul? What is the answer? Sorry. Isn't meditation good?
It can be for you.
For me?
Yeah. It's up to you if it's good or not, isn't it? You're giving it all the meaning it has. No. Meditation can be good, it may not be good. I've watched people ruin their day when they've missed their meditation, early meditation. They run home at lunch to make up for it. That meditation isn't serving them. It's serving the self, isn't it? Yeah, so to me that doesn't work. See, all I know is this process of selfing is faster than any process I've ever been introduced to here. So, the process of meditation, the selfing will be claiming the meditation to imply the meditator. I'm not saying that should stop you from meditating, but at least be aware of it. While you're meditating, the mental state is using the meditation to imply the meditator. And you can be just as bound to the idea of being a meditator as being to the idea of being a junkie. Exactly. Actually, at least junkies maybe have an intervention. You won't. They'll let you come to meetings like this for fucking ever. They'll let you sign up for 40 retreats. They'll let you spend all your money. At least in recovery, we stop people. Hey, you've had enough. No more fucking talks. Yeah? It's not doing you any good. Yeah? I'm hoping to do this by just sharing it with you. Yeah? You are what you're looking for. What would happen if you just stopped and realized all your mechanisms are not going to find what you are? Just, like the Course in Miracles says, what can a failed system show us? That it's failed. So the system that's been our GPS, has failed. It sees us as a thing. It believes in time. It believes we're here, real and solid, and that we're going to die. It believes all these things fervently. Don't waste time trying to convince it otherwise. Do not sit for a week seminar on no free will. You feel like you have fucking free will, the action figure. Don't worry about it. Yeah? Just stop wasting time trying to convince this, that is that, just to talk to that about this. Yeah? That's all you need to do. Allow what you are to hear about what you're not, instead of what you're not hearing about what you are. I'm just saying. It's a different direction. Yeah? Try it. Everything else probably hasn't worked. Why not try nothing? See what happens. Nothing could be the key. If you sit with nothing long enough, it turns into everything. Seriously. Could you imagine having the last answer in such an important topic? Could you imagine not spending a nanosecond looking for what can't be found? Can you imagine not buying the idea that you have to get into the moment based on the fallacy that you could be out of a moment? That you finally realized you've never been out of any moment, so there's no need to try to get in? The getting in verifies the idea that you could be out, which is the lie. Yeah, can you imagine that? You look like you've done a lot of work to get in the moment, but you haven't done any work. Yeah? You just had a realization, I can't be out of a moment. That's the realization. Now, it looks like the experience of being out, but you didn't get there by escape. You got there by realizing you were never in. That's non-duality. Yeah? At least be able to tell the difference, because there's a lot of paths being disguised in non-duality, but they're paths. Non-duality is not a path. It's a fact. It will illuminate whatever path you're on, but if you turn it into a path, it's going to block the illumination, because you'll be looking for the light as the light. I think it's great news, to tell you the truth. Though for a lot of people it's bad news, I have to admit. Even before I came here, I feel like I don't want to talk to anyone anymore. I want them to like me. I'm believing certain things, and I'm scared about what I'm believing. Oh, it didn't work, I don't think. Oh, yeah, it did. Yeah, I'm falling under a, I can't say that, can I? No, I won't.